Energy storage is a crucial part of any nation's energy transition plan. Utilities are now rethinking their strategy for leveraging battery storage to better manage the grid.
This is Powering the Future, a podcast series brought to you by Smart Grid Forums. One planet, one power grid.
Joining us to talk through this issue is Kristofer Fröjd, Senior VP for Strategy and Business Development at Ellevio. Kristofer, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us again today for another discussion on the innovation projects that are taking place at Ellevio.
Thank you, and nice to be back.
Excellent. So, Kristofer, I know one of the projects that you're most excited about, and so am I, by the way, is the energy storage project at Ellevio. Give us a brief overview of the drivers for that and where you're at right now.
Yeah, sure. And I think the whole kind of start of that journey when it comes to storage, or maybe if you can say flexibility as a general, I think started back in 2018 or 19. Mm-hmm. And the main reason was a problem, like Churchill said, you should never underestimate the value of a crisis, and we really had a crisis back then. And the reason was that the TSO, we had a TSO connection, a subscription of about 1,640 megawatts. And also we have a local CHP plant that can produce up to 320 megawatt of electricity. And due to the low electricity prices and changing regulation in taxation of incineration of waste and so on, we were in a very delicate situation where those 320 megawatt we're not sure that we're going to get that, and that would really jeopardize the whole Stockholm grid. So we had a kind of a alarming situation where we were kind of a war room situation where how should we resolve it? And then we actually ended up in how to leverage smart meters or how to build flexibility markets that we later on tested in a project called Stockholm Flex, and also batteries. So back then we had workshops with, for example, Northvolt at their head office here in Stockholm. We also met Tesla, Samsung, LG Chem to kind of really how can we solve this with a, excuse my French, but a big ass battery. That was kind of the mantra. How should we be bold and innovative?
Right.
And back then, the capex was too expensive. The economics for batteries were not really there. But fast forward a couple of years, we kind of did a big functional and technical study, and we managed to kind of simulate how a battery would work in different environments, in a villa area, in a suburban area, at the primary substation, in the Swedish Alps. So we gathered a lot of know-how and also experience that later on, back in 2021, so 2 years after our strategy, we saw that things were changing, both when it comes to the capex profiles were coming down, and also the ancillary markets, the prices came up. So the business case for batteries was in the market.
Right.
So since a DSO cannot own batteries, we also redid our strategy back then and more the mentality as an energy company. So we started a separate company, Ellevio Energy Solutions, and that company used the know-how we had since a couple years back and started to do site development and talked to a lot of EPC manufacturers in Europe and in Asia, and we managed to do a rollout of 10 plus 70 megawatt of storage very early on. So we already then took a good position of being one of the leading companies in large-scale energy storage in Sweden. And then at the same time, we understood the value of a storage in not just the asset itself, it's how to maximize the asset, so how to use revenue stacking and value stacking. So we invested in a small startup called Flower. I think there were 6 people back then, 3 years ago. Now they're approaching 140 people.
Wow.
They've on 10 European markets. So we managed to invest them early on and have this fantastic equation when 1 + 1 = 4. So we worked together and explored and I think got a lot of synergies on a win-win situation. And we managed to get a good footprint of being a energy storage provider or asset owner. And today we are approaching close to 200 megawatts of storage in Sweden. So I think it all started with a problem, with a crisis, and it ended up to deliver massive value and competence and know-how.
Fantastic. And what a great workaround, given the regulatory environment where DSOs aren't able to own the assets. Now, Kristofer, that's a great approach. That's a great strategy, and it's working well for you. For some DSOs who are in a similar position, they want to challenge the regulation right now. And there is a process, I understand, a derogation process for utilities to challenge the regulation and actually directly own and control the battery assets. Did you ever consider that approach? Did you look at that, and what are your thoughts on that?
I see energy storage as a critical grid component in one sense. So I think you can absolutely see it as part of the grid. I also understand that if you're a regulated grid company and you have a battery and trading on ancillary markets and other markets, that maybe that is not a good solution as well. So, I mean, again, since we divided this to create a new company and have separate money funding that, of course, you need to be super strict you have Chinese walls in the company, so you don't give any information and so on. So I think that is not always the easiest part. It's but I mean, if you determine the value, you understanding how to deal with it, and then you test it and so on. So I think it can be in that way as well. But again, grids, energy storage, when the capex profile goes down, and also we have a changing regulatory environment, that you will be incentivized to use more flex, and in the Swedish grid regulation from 2028, I think that if you can buy a storage and use it solely as an integrated grid component, and not even use it for trading at ancillary markets, I think you can deviate or push grid investments and making sure to connect more renewables to your grid in a smart way. So again, I see the value of having storage in the grids, on the grid side as well.
Yes, absolutely. And some of our utilities who are going to be at SGT26 next year want to really explore that option and to look at how they can actually own and control battery assets, not for the purpose of trade, as you say, but for the purpose of managing the grid. Now, the last 12 months has seen a massive increase in take-up of energy storage solutions. The market seems to be exploding right now, which is very good news for everyone. What do you think about the new technologies that are coming on the market to support grid scale energy storage in particular?
A couple of years back, it was more as a new technology that was kind of exotic. Now we're seeing that. You have, for example, when we did the RFP round for finding an optimizer 2 years ago, I think we had 5 different optimizer that was in the process. Now we had more than 15 just 6 months back. So it's not a new thing. It's a stable thing, and that is exploding, and it will continue to grow. Look just on the Swedish market, I think it's you have the similar trend in many markets, that just in Sweden, I think just during 2024, it was a 6 or 7-fold increase of storage. And now today, I think we have close to 1.5 gigawatt of energy storage in Sweden, and we're seeing more and more projects are developed. However, the business case 2-3 years ago, we could see IRR levels of 30 to 40% unlevered IRR. Now maybe it's around 10. So again, in the beginning, a couple of years ago, the cost of a mistake wasn't that costly. But if you do a mistake now, that can ruin the whole business case. So I think it's good, because you really need to be sharp, and the best players will eventually win. But looking at the market side, you would see some change in market dynamics. You will, players that are active today will maybe not be the leading players in 3-4 years. So it will be a exciting times, and but it will be some structural changes as well, I think.
Well, we'll watch this space. Thank you so much for your insights today, Kristofer. Great to talk to you about battery storage, and looking forward to seeing you at SGT26 in Paris in March, where we'll expand that conversation. Thank you so much. You have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Join us again next time as we unpack another big topic shaping the future of the power grid. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Smart Grid Forums, and to follow us on LinkedIn. Until then, thanks for watching and listening.
This is Powering the Future, a podcast series brought to you by Smart Grid Forums. One planet, one power grid.